Where should you avoid overtaking? In a one-way street, on a dual carriageway, approaching a dip in the road, just after a bend.
Now, this question says, where should you avoid overtaking? And the answer is approaching a dip in the road. So the dip in the road is where the road is not smooth. It bends in and comes up. It's like an uneven road. So the answer is approaching a dip in the road.
You're traveling along this road. How should you pass the cyclist? Keep close to them as you pass. Leave them plenty of room as you pass. Change down one gear before you pass. Sound your horn as you pass.
If you are traveling along this road and you see a cyclist, then you leave them plenty of room as you pass because they might be unsettled or they might swerve into the road. So the answer is B. Leave them plenty of room as you pass.
What's most likely to distract you while you're driving? Using a mobile phone, using the demisters, using the windscreen wipers, using the mirrors.
So the most likely to distract you in all the options is when you use a mobile phone. Receiving phone calls, sending text messages distract you whilst you're driving, and that keeps you unsafe.
You're driving your car. When may you use a handheld mobile phone? When you're receiving a call. When you're driving at less than 30 miles per hour. When you've parked safely. When your car has automatic transmission.
If you want to use a handheld mobile phone, make sure you've parked safely. Otherwise, it's going to distract you, just as we saw in the previous video. So when you've parked safely is the answer.
What should you do as you approach this bridge? Move to the right. Slow down. Change gear. Keep to 30 miles per hour.
This road sign is a hump bridge. So how do you approach a warning sign? You be prepared to slow down. So the answer is B, slow down.
Why are these yellow lines painted across the road? To make you aware of your speed. To tell you the distance to the roundabout. To help you choose the correct lane. To help you keep the correct separation distance.
Yellow lines are painted across the road to make you aware of your speed, because looking at the video, you can see that there are countdown markers to an exit, and the shape of the roundabout displayed on your left. So the yellow lines, also called the rumble device, alert you to your speed. So the answer is to make you aware of your speed.
What should you do if your mobile phone rings while you're driving or riding? Answer it immediately. Pull up at the nearest curb. Stop immediately. Leave it until you have stopped in a safe place.
If your mobile phone rings, because you want to do safe driving, you have to leave it until you have stopped in a safe place. Otherwise, all the options that are available are going to cause an unsafe driving. So you leave it until you've stopped in a safe place before you can take your mobile phone. So,
what should you do when you move off from behind a parked car? Give a signal after moving off. Look around before moving off. Look around after moving off. Use the exterior mirrors only.
now this question says, what should you do when you move off from behind a parked car? If you don't take care, you go for look around after moving off. But if you do that, then if any hazard is around you, it would have caused a problem. So what do? You look around before moving off. In that sense, you're going to do a 6-point or 5-point check to look around before you move off. So the answer is B.
What should you do before making a U-turn? Look over your shoulder for a final check. Select a higher gear than normal. Check road markings to see that U-turns are permitted. Give an arm signal as well as using your indicators.
If you want to make a U-turn where a U-turn is displayed, then you have to look over your shoulder for a final check to check for traffic overtaking. So you want to do a safe driving, and that is the safest thing to do a final shoulder check.
What's likely to happen if you use a hands-free phone while you're driving? It will improve your safety. It will increase your concentration. It will divert your attention. It will reduce your view.
As you've seen earlier, handheld mobile phones divert your attention, so it will distract you. So if you use a hand-free mobile phone, your attention will be diverted. So the answer is C.
How can you make sure that a satellite navigation sat-nav system does not distract you when you're driving? Choose a voice that you find calming. Only set the destination when you're lost. Turn it off while you're driving in built-up areas. Set it before starting your journey.
It is important to set your sat-nav before you start your journey so that you don't get distracted.
Why should you use your mirrors when you see a hazard ahead? To assess how your actions will affect the traffic behind. Because you'll need to brake sharply and stop. Because you'll need to accelerate out of danger. To check what's happening on the road ahead.
So you use your mirrors when you see a hazard to assess how your actions will affect the traffic behind, because you're going to slow down. And in slowing down, you need to check your mirrors first and apply your brakes, or you slow down. So you check your mirrors when you see a hazard in order to assess how your actions will affect the traffic behind you.
Why should you switch your headlights on when it first starts to get dark? So that you blend in with other drivers. To make your dials easier to see. So others can see you more easily. Because the street lights are lit.
In this question, it's starting to get dark, and why must you switch your headlights on? So that others can see you more easily.
You're waiting to turn right at the end of a road. What should you do if your view is obstructed by parked vehicles? Move quickly to where you can see so you only block traffic from one direction. Turn your vehicle around immediately and find another junction to use. Stop and then move forward slowly and carefully for a clear view. Wait for a pedestrian to let you know when it's safe for you to emerge.
Alright, so you want to turn right at the end of a road. What should you do if your view is obstructed by parked vehicles? You want to do a safe driving, and the best answer is to stop and then move forward slowly and carefully for a clear view, because you need a clear view before you can turn right. So the answer is C.
You're driving on a wet road. What should you do if you have to stop your vehicle in an emergency? Keep both hands on the steering wheel. Apply the parking brake and foot brake together. Select reverse gear. Give an arm signal.
To do an emergency stop, you need to keep both hands on the steering wheel, because you're going to apply the brakes firmly and rapidly. So if you don't keep both hands on the steering wheel, you're going to have less steering control. So the answer is A.
There are objects hanging from your interior mirror. Why could this be a hazard? Your radio reception might be affected. Your view could be obstructed. Your sun visor might get tangled. Your windscreen could mist up more easily.
If objects are hanging from your interior mirror, it could be a hazard. The reason being that it might block your view, so your view could be obstructed.
What should you do when you're approaching traffic lights that have been green for some time? Maintain your speed. Accelerate hard. Be ready to stop. Brake hard.
Lights that have been green for some time is going to change to amber only and then red only. So what do? Be ready to stop, because the lights are going to change to what? Amber, and then potentially red alone. So the answer is C. Be ready to stop.
What does this curved arrow road marking mean? The road ahead bends to the left. Overtaking traffic should move back to the left. Heavy vehicles should take the next road on the left to avoid a weight limit. The road ahead has a camber to the left.
Now the curved arrow road marking tells you to move back into your lane. So because the left lane has broken lines on its right side, it is a free lane where any vehicle can overtake to the right. When you overtake to the right, you need to get back into your lane. So what will tell you to get back into your lane? A deflecting arrow. So the arrow road marking is telling overtaking traffic to move back to the left lane. So the answer is B.
You're on a long motorway journey. What should you do if you start to feel sleepy? Drive faster to complete your journey sooner. Leave the motorway and stop in a safe place. Stop on the hard shoulder for a rest. Play some loud music.
On the motorway, you're making a long journey. You start to feel sleepy. What should you do? Your answer must be the safest thing to do and the most reasonable. So you leave the motorway and stop in a safe place. On the motorway, there are rest stops on the motorway. So you can leave the motorway, go to the services area and go and rest.
What should you do before slowing down or stopping your vehicle? Select a higher gear. Sound the horn. Use the mirrors. Flash the headlights.
If you remember this question, we've come across this before, where when you are going to apply the brakes, you need to check the mirrors in order to assess how traffic will be affected. So when you're slowing down, what do? You use your mirrors. Why? To check how traffic behind you will be affected. So the answer is C.
What does the term blind spot mean? An area covered by your left-hand mirror. An area not visible to the driver. An area not covered by your headlights. An area covered by your right-hand mirror.
A blind spot is the area not visible to the driver. So your left shoulder check, your right shoulder check are your blind spots. You cannot see them. That's why when you're doing a maneuvering that involves reversing, you are allowed to take off your seatbelt because you're going to do a full turn to your left shoulder and a full turn to your right shoulder. That is a blind spot, an area not visible to the driver.
When do windscreen pillars cause a serious obstruction to your view? When you're approaching bends and junctions. When you're driving on a dual carriageway. When you're approaching a one-way street. When you're driving on a motorway.
So the windscreen pillar holds the right mirror or the right door mirror and the main windscreen. That is a windscreen pillar. So when you're approaching bends and junctions, then the windscreen pillar kind of obstruct you. So that is when your windscreen pillar will cause a serious obstruction to your view when you're approaching bends and junctions.
What should you do if you cannot see clearly behind when you're reversing? Open the window to look behind. Ask someone to guide you. Look in the near side mirror. Open the door to look behind.
Out of the options, the most reasonable thing to do and the most safest is to ask someone to guide you when you are going to reverse and you cannot see clearly behind you. Ask someone to guide you.
You're waiting to emerge from a junction. The windscreen pillar is restricting your view. What should you be particularly aware of? Lorries, buses, coaches, motorcyclists.
Now, as we saw earlier, this is the windscreen pillar. So the question says you're waiting to emerge from a junction. To emerge from a junction means to come from a junction into a main road. So the windscreen pillar is restricting your view. What should you be particularly aware of? You must be aware of motorcyclists who might be overtaken, because motorcyclists can be hidden behind cars or big lorries. So be aware of motorcyclists.
You're turning right onto a dual carriageway. What should you do before emerging? Position your vehicle well to the left of the side road. Stop, apply the parking brake and then select a low gear. Check that the central reservation is wide enough for your vehicle. Make sure that you leave enough room for a vehicle behind.
To turn right on a dual carriageway, the middle of the dual carriageway is called the central reservation, and a small portion is created for anybody going to turn right to go there and wait. So, if you're going to turn right on a dual carriageway, before you emerge, remember, emerging means coming in from a junction. Before you emerge, you need to check that the central reservation is wide enough for your vehicle. Otherwise, you will have to wait for traffic to be clear in both sides before you can enter. So the answer is that check that the central reservation is wide enough for your vehicle.
You're following a large vehicle. Why should you stay a safe distance behind it? You'll give the driver a chance to see you in their mirrors. You'll keep out of the wind better. You'll help the large vehicle to stop more easily. You'll be able to corner more quickly.
Now, if you're following a large vehicle and you stay too close to the vehicle, then the driver is not going to see you in his mirrors and your view is going to be restricted. Therefore, you need to stay a safe distance behind the large vehicle so that the driver can see you in his mirrors and your view of the road is going to be good. So the answer is A. Right, so that is the end of alertness.